You're listening to Sox in the Basement, a production of the Broadcast Basement Limited, where every show is 30 minutes of good and comes from a basement bar on the south side of Chicago. Pull up a stool, pour a cold one, and join us right now for Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com.
One of the things you're going to notice on the YouTube channel, if you're watching the video, subscribe on the YouTube channel if you like watching us instead of listening to us, is the new positioning of the camera. I'm still trying out new looks here in the basement, in the new studio. And this time around, Ed, I have the glow of a Budweiser sign. It's actually Budweiser American Ale, like behind me. And I notice, and I keep laughing about it, like the way that it's shooting me and me sitting in the glow of it. I keep hearing that line from A Christmas Story when Ralphie's talking about the lamp in the window, and he goes, the only thing in the world that could have dragged me away was from the soft glow of electric sex gleaming in the window. That's what this is. I keep getting that phrase because of the way that the light is shining. It's weird, and the walls are slightly purple too. It's kind of a weird view of this whole thing down here.
Sox in the Basement brought to you by Electric Sex. I don't know, I have a tagline for that, but that's what we're going with right now.
I mean, it just like, I don't know. It's one of those weird things that's in my head. I'm trying to concentrate on something lighthearted because honestly, I wanted to start off the show ticked off.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I wanted to start off the show ticked off. And not about anything that has to do with the White Sox.
Man,
oh yeah,
no.
I wanted to start off the show ticked off. It's about fantasy baseball. You saw this exchange yesterday. We're in this league together. We've been in this league. This is the 9th season of this league. I'm the commissioner of the league. And you came in last place this year. I came in first. I don't want to harp on that. But coming in first place means I win the regular season pennant. And the way that we set this up, the way I set this up when I came up with this idea of a dynasty fantasy baseball league holding 40-man rosters, 26 in the majors, you only get so many promotions a year. Like you're building a team long term and you're trying to win. It really feels like you're the GM of a baseball team. And I took a lot of time looking at how different leagues do these things and looking up, great rules and ideas for leagues like this. And it's been around for 9 years. And I won the pennant. And that got me straight to the World Series because it takes all of the bad luck in fantasy playoffs off the table if the pennant winner gets to make it to the final thing, like right away. The rest of the playoff teams, all the wild cards, they find their way there. They got to fight each other. But then the one that wins the pennant is there. And then it's the best of 3 games. It's actually like a mini World Series. It's 3 weeks long. So this year, I'm playing against the team that won the championship last year. And he's trying to go back to back. And meanwhile, the only person to ever go back to back in this league is me. I've gone back to back twice in this league, actually. And then I've had 3 years off from being at the top of the mountain. And we're back, baby. And I believe we're going to win this thing. I'm up 1 game to none. And after I win the first week, and I'm setting up my lineup for week 2, there's an injury to one of my players. Daniel Palencia, one of the relief pitchers, he's on the Cubs. He hurts his shoulder. And I actually went and looked at the league rules because I didn't know exactly what the rule was. But I knew I needed a relief pitcher or I was going to be playing 1 man short on my starting lineup. So I read the rule that we've written in there. And then I follow the rule and I got accused of doing something illegal. And there's just something in me that drives me nuts because if you're telling the commissioner of the league you did something illegal, it's almost like saying you did it on purpose. Like you're cheating to win. And I hate that. I mean, I was so annoyed yesterday. You know me. You know I was annoyed. Even after he apologized.
I didn't even talk to you about it, but I knew you were annoyed.
Even after he apologized. And I don't have anything against him personally, the guy I'm playing, but like it annoyed me all day long because it's like one of those things where like I want to win and be like, I won fair and square. I won, right? Like I want to hoist that trophy at the end of the fantasy playoffs. I don't want anybody saying he just was able to win because he got lucky. Because I hear it every time I win in this league. I hear it, Ed. Every time I win in this league. I won in the COVID season. Well, that's because there were no playoffs, so we just took the pennant winner. I'm like the Dodgers that year, right? My tainted championship. Right. Like it didn't really count. Okay. I remember the first 2 years, it was like, well, he came up with the league, So, of course, he's the best team in the league for the first 2 years of the league. There's always a reason. In fact, the rule that we have where you can replace a guy who's injured from the free agent pool and you don't have to use your 40-man roster, you can go into the free agent pool, is because I won 1 year because the guy I was playing had injuries and couldn't replace the players, so that tainted that championship. So then I changed the rule to the rule the way it is now, tried to use it and got told that again, they're trying to taint my championships. Everybody's trying to taint my championships, Ed. My soon to be 5 championships in this league.
So, yeah. But
I mean, you see the frustration?
Also,
you see why I'm annoyed about it? I mean, we're going to talk White Sox, but like, it's baseball. And people play in these fantasy sports. They're playing in fantasy football. They're playing in fantasy baseball. I mean, heck, I don't even get me started on fantasy football. When they had that game that they stopped because the poor guy from the Bills basically died on the field, it made me lose a game. It knocked me out of the championship. I think that was championship week in fantasy football. And I got screwed.
Right.
And I got screwed in that one. So don't even get me started on how it's unfair in the postseason. So if you make it to the end in a fantasy sports of any, like fantasy baseball, fantasy football, I don't care, fantasy soccer, you make it to the end. You don't like it when somebody's sitting there trying to say, well, yeah, you may have won, but it's tainted. And you're in the league, right? You're in the league.
Yes,
you
I
know
am
that
in the league.
I followed the rule correctly, right?
Yeah, and I was even asked separately about it, and I'm like, nah, that's the rule is being followed.
Okay.
And some of it came down to, also infuriatingly, some of it came down to, with these fantasy leagues, there's a massive difference in your experience using the app versus using the website. So the rules, the way we have it set up, if you're looking at your team on the website, which is what I was doing, you're following the rules. If you're looking at the league on the app, on the CBS Sports app, it changes how they designate injured players, and it didn't correlate to exactly how the rule was written, which is part of the reason why the whole thing was a kerfuffle in the first place.
This was more of a kerfuffle over the app not working properly. Because
right. Which once is why I don't use that particular app because I think it's terrible.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it is a terrible app. They're a bad app. Everybody makes fun of me that I use all my fantasy sports on CBS Sports, but I just become so comfortable with it, and I don't want to lose all my league history. But the app is terrible. It's a terrible app. It really is.
Yeah, it really is.
All right. So if I win this week, because I think I'm going to win this week, and I'm not even going to need Game 3. If I win this week, this is not a tainted championship. The evil empire of the Ninja Black Sox, who will now have won more than half of the championships in this league, will be able to sit there proudly and call themselves the evil empire. Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. All of your championships are going to be, they're not going to be lauded. They're going to be blasted. All right?
I'm leaning into the fact that I'm the evil empire now. Like, that's it. I'm the Yankees. Like, that's what the Yankees of like the 90s or like, remember they would call them that? Maybe you could call the Dodgers that now. Who's the evil empire in baseball right now? Like, who would you just say it's just completely unfair? The Yankees a little bit because they spend money, but the Dodgers spend a ton of money. You know, they got a huge payroll.
I think it's got to be the
Dodgers, right? The Dodgers are the evil empire.
Yeah, because they also convince everybody to take their lousy prospects that don't ever pan out.
That is true.
In trades and they hype guys up. It's bad. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, your championship chances are in part dependent on the red hot White Sox beating the tar out of or losing to Adrian Hauser, which is who starts off the Rays White Sox series against Yoenders Gomez.
Yeah, this is the guy I picked up. And
so
I know
if Colson Montgomery goes yard 5 times off of him,
I know.
You're screwed.
I know. And that's the thing. I picked him up because he's a 2-star pitcher that qualifies as a relief pitcher, but he could very easily be the whole key to me losing because he's going up against a very good White Sox team who won 2 out of 3 against Detroit just this past weekend after I said probably just 1. You know, it's the race to 63 wins. They're ahead of schedule already. They're ahead of it now. Remember we said that. There were 7 series left. They needed to get 1 out of every one of those series, and then they needed to find themselves 4 series where they won 2 out of 3. They already found one.
Yeah, they're a quarter of the way to it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's amazing that they're doing what they're doing right now. And it's so much fun to watch a young team that's doing fun things and hitting home runs and showing life here in the last month. I mean, think of the contrast between this month and 1 year ago this month. I mean, it was sad and depressing, and you were angry because you were like, there's not even any effort going into it. And they're just like, it was as if the losses they had snowballed them. And instead, here what you have is a team that is going to lose around 100 games, maybe, I believe most likely 98, 99, but it's a completely different feeling because they're going out every day here this month, and they were doing it in August as well, trying to win baseball games. And while I don't know if Will Venable is a good, let's say, X's and O's coach is the easiest way to say it, a good game planning coach, in-game coach, I'm not sure if as a manager he's that yet, because I haven't been able to see him with a good team that like really should be competing in every single game. But he's definitely somebody who kept his locker room together and has the right attitude. That's how I feel about him in year one.
Well, and that's the thing. The team shows signs of life. There's development with the hitters. We've talked about the fact that the pitching may be suffering because guys are overtaxed. They're down to some questionable guys. I mean, Gomez, who's pitching the first game of the Rays series, he's done some good stuff while he's been up here, but you don't know exactly what he is yet. You're going to see Shane Smith at the end of the series. And, he's been a little up and down as he's extended out past, his expiration date from previous years in terms of the number of innings. The middle game of that is even to be decided. So that means we don't even know until you get to game time who's going to pitch. So you're looking at a team that isn't a complete team, like you said. So it's hard to gauge what Will Venable does. But you're also looking at a team that grew up, okay? And he has found a way to get guys to start succeeding and be in a position to do good things. And most importantly, they still are trying and they're still fighting and they're still playing hard. And they went and took it to the Tigers, where last year I feel like the team would have just rolled over and taken their sweep, and just been like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Best team in baseball, who cares?
And they're coming from behind in games. I mean, that is one of those things that I always notice about a baseball team. If you're coming from behind in a game, there's hope in the dugout. There's a belief in yourself. Not only in yourself, but in your team. Because baseball is such an individualistic sport. You go right up to the plate, and it's you versus the pitcher. And then you're also part of a team. So you got to not only believe that you can do it, but you have to believe that if you go get a base hit, the rest of your team is going to add another one behind you. Because that's the only way that you get up for coming back in a game. You have to not only have belief in you, but you have to have belief in the guys that are around you. And that's something that has been lacking on this franchise for such a long time. And I think that's the thing that encourages me in a season where, yes, at the end of it, you're going to look at the final record and say we were terrible. But this is such a different team compared to a year ago. Switch to a new age of life with Hyatt Home Medical Equipment. Keep mom and dad, grandma and grandpa out of assisted living and make it so they can get around on their own and live independently with stair lifts, ramps, grab bars, lift chairs, and even bathroom remodeling. They work with insurance and have 0% financing for qualified individuals. If you have a CPAP machine, we have a friend of ours that doesn't stay with the rest of the group when we have like group outings. Like we get together like once a year for a reunion, Ed and I, and this guy shows up and he won't stay in the house that we've rented because his CPAP machine is too loud. He's embarrassed by it. He needs to go to Hyatt. He needs to go there and get the latest and the greatest in it, where they work with your insurance company, and he needs to get something better so he can participate with the rest of the group and not have to stay in a hotel down the road because he's embarrassed by his CPAP machine. Check out what Hyatt has for you at hhme.com. It's a team that has belief. And that's the building block. We talk about that idea of even when you're building, you want to have professional baseball players on your team because it's not fair to make a bunch of rookies do it all. Because where are they going to find the belief they can win? How are they going to feel like they're in a game that they can come back and they can actually win? It's been a very good mix. And now you see some of the young guys that were here early on in the season, and then Colson Montgomery, who just seems, for some reason, I mean, I don't know what it is. Like, he just comes up here and just like, I'm just going to hit home runs, and I have no problem coming back in a game. And I mean, he's got the belief. But you got Kyle Teel right now. Kyle Teel's hitting 286 on the season with an 813 OPS. That's some great rookie numbers from a catcher. I mean, you've got guys on this team that are new this year. There's a reason they have belief. They're good.
Well, and you can't discount some of that too. I mean, this is a very talented group. We've had in the rebuilds in the past where it's like, well, you got to, we've got this guy is going to be a superstar. This guy's going to be a superstar. This guy's going to be a superstar. None of them are being hit with that expectation, right? Maybe the best thing that happens to Colson Montgomery is that everybody gives up on him, right? That we all declare him toasted, that we all are just marveling at the fact that he goes down to Arizona, because when he comes up, he's not expected to be Corey Seager anymore. Now he could just be Colson Montgomery. And Chase Mydroth was never sold as a superstar. Miguel Vargas was not sold as a superstar. He's sold as a guy that could be very, very good, right? And Lenyn Sosa was completely discounted. Teel and Caro are the two guys that were looked at as like, well, these are really highfalutin prospects, but they've lived up to it to a certain degree, and they've been sort of shielded because they're in competition with each other for the playing time and everything. And what you're starting to see too in this late season run is something that I think is going to translate better next year, because I was thinking about how many guys on this team are really going to approach 20 to 30 home runs, right? And I know Colson Montgomery, if he stays on a pace similar to this over the course of a full season, could easily hit 40. But I was thinking about Lenyn Sosa, the positionless wonder that he is, and I'm thinking as I'm watching him that he could hit that 30 homer plateau next year very easily, because one of the things I'm seeing with him and Kyle Teel in particular are the two that stand out, are two guys who, as they are getting more comfortable, are attacking the baseball and attacking mistakes and attacking pitches that they know they can put a charge into and really go after it. And Sosa hits his 20th home run on the season, still your team leader for right now, and he does it against the Tigers team, and you watch, you look, it's like, okay, what is he doing differently to hit home runs versus, say, Colson Montgomery, who sort of like accidentally hits homers sometimes, and then when he does get a hold of it, when he really does attack it, it just goes, 2 miles in the air. Sosa is a guy that, as he's become more comfortable, you're watching him attack the ball and drive the ball. And Teal's the same way. When I saw him hit one against Minnesota, I noticed that when he saw his pitch, his swing adjusted for, I want to put this somewhere in the right field seats. And when you're seeing that comfort level with these guys, that's going to translate too, because it's a talented group. It's a group of guys that can sit here and say, I'm comfortable, and they're not under the weight of expectations that we had where Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams were constantly telling everybody who would listen, and even people who didn't want to listen to them, that everybody on their team was a future Hall of Famer.
Right. And
which is never, ever going to be the case. That's
too much to put on them. And the thing is, you can just have a team of good baseball players that are playing the game the right way. And that's what you want to have. And first off, Sosa versus Montgomery with Benintendi not going away for the home run race on this team is something I did not expect to be talking about in September, right? I mean,
no.
like both of them may end up with 25 home runs, and they have the potential to be so much more next season. And if Lenyn Sosa finishes in the mid-20s in home runs, I think he's a 30 home run hitter next year. And if he is a 30 home run hitter, then he can be a DH, right? I mean, it's a weird thing to say.
Oh, yeah.
But if he's a 30 home run hitter, he can be a designated hitter for your team, because I like Mydroth at second, and I like Montgomery at short. If you're going to end up sticking with Vargas, he seems to be, I mean, him and Meade right now are the corner guys. I don't think that's great defense there, but I mean, it's probably better than having Sosa stand at one of those positions. There's a lot of good things happening here. I don't know if it would be wrong to add a corner infielder to this team. and not just expect all these guys to continue to progress. Like there's going to be progression, but I just don't know if I want to just say that those 4 guys are my infield and Lenyn Sosa is a designated hitter. Like I said, I think you need to add some bats here. You can have good things happen and then still add some guys onto the team. Your payroll is going to be super low, and adding a couple of quality hitters into this lineup makes you a team that can bash, honestly. And it'll take the pressure off these kids when they come back for their next season. Coming off of this one, they're gonna listen to the hype all off season, right? There's gonna be there may be a Sox Fest. I don't know how many people they'll let in there and what place they'll keep it at to keep the crowds down. But there'll be something, I would imagine. There'll be hype there. Their team is gonna hype them. And their team is their PR department's gonna be trying to tell you Colson Montgomery is gonna hit 50 home runs next year. And you really don't want Colson Montgomery hearing that. You don't want him to put that kind of pressure on himself, but it's going to happen. Lenyn Sosa, look at what he did. Okay, we think he's a 35 home run hitter, so we don't need to go out into free agency. I don't want to see that in the offseason. I want them to go and put a hitter or two around these guys so they don't have that kind of pressure, so they continue to develop and they continue to move in an upward trajectory. I think just saying, well, we found something, so we don't need to do anything is the wrong way to do this. And because then what you do is you add the pressure that you just talked about these guys didn't have in the second half of the season. And even in the first half of the season as they were trying to figure it out and get used to the majors. You start saying, well, we don't need to do anything because we just expect all these guys to become 20% better. That's a lot to put on these guys because they're brand new. And they're going to have their own doubts in the offseason about, okay, well, what did I do that worked last year? And how do I do that all over again? And they're going to get to spring training with expectations on them. And you could watch them stumble. And that's the thing I want them to avoid. But I look at this team and I say there's guys. I mean, you have between Caro and Teal and Montgomery and Sosa's bat, not his glove, and Meidroth is a ball player, and you still have Benintendi on your team. I don't know if they're going to move him at $15 million. You got Luis Robert Jr. You don't want to pay him $20 million next year, so you're going to end up trading him. So you're going to take money off the books, and you're going to get something to help your organization probably in a year or two after you move him. But you're going to get that off the books. Use that money. Use some of the space and fill in around these guys. Just like they need to add veteran pitching that's not Mike Clevenger next year.
Oh, yeah. And what you're talking about there, too, is even though Sosa and Montgomery have the potential to both be above the 30 home run mark next year, it would not hurt to have a veteran player who is capable of that as well, or who is a deadlock cinch to get 25. Okay. Somebody who's going to approach that, because the rest of the roster, I mean, Benintendi, I think will end up over 20. But that's about it. I mean, Robert, if he comes back, he's only at 14 out of 110 games. Miguel Vargas in 121 games has 14. I don't think he's got a swing that necessarily lends itself to home runs. His 30 doubles would kind of tell you that when he's hot, he's hitting line drives. Some of those will go out of ballpark, some of them won't. I think Edgar Caro's kind of the same type of swing when you look at him. But you're going to need at least one more guy that is capable of hitting it. And when you think back to when the White Sox have been successful, there's usually been 3 guys at least. I mean, pick a roster. And there's been 3 guys that were legitimate home run threats, whether or not they hit the 30 plateau, if they had enough games, whatever. But, you know, their home runs per at bat would have lended itself to that. And just look around the league, and it's the same way. I mean, you know, teams that are successful usually have multiple home run hitters.
Look at the Tigers right now. Let's just look in the division right now. The Tigers, I think, are rated, I don't know, somewhere between 8th and 10th in terms of most home runs as a team. So they're up in that top third. Towards the bottom of the top third, they're the best. They're the best, I think, in the American League Central in terms of as a team getting home runs. I believe at this point.
Right.
And if I bring up their individual stats and I just sort them real quick, Riley Green's got 32, Spencer Torkelson's got 28, Kerry Carpenter's got 23.
And Carpenter's missed a bunch of times, so he's 23.
Right. So those are 3 guys that are 30 home run a year or better home run hitters. I would say that,
right.
that they have at least 3 guys that can do that on their team. And their number 4 guy is Gleyber Torres, who's got 15 home runs and will finish in the 20s, let's say, or close to it. So that's still better than what you have right now on this team. Now, you may have in Montgomery a Riley Green in terms of his home run output. And you may have in Lenyn Sosa a Spencer Torkelson. But I don't know if you have in anybody else on this team somebody, because again, I'm assuming Robert leaves, and I cannot assume big home run numbers out of a guy who's always injured and disappears for months on end. I can't rely on that. I don't believe he's going to be on the team. So right now, you don't have enough just to be like the team that's sitting atop your division. And as your pitching comes along, to be honest with you, you need even more than what the Tigers have, because they've got better pitching than you right now. So if you want to be just competitive next year, if you want to have fun at the ballpark, right? You want to be better at the ballpark. You got to be better at hitting home runs. You've got a lot of positives here, more than I expected when the season started. God, when the season started, I was like, nobody's going to hit over 20. It just didn't feel that way, the way that this team played the year before. Nobody's going to hit over 20 home runs. So you have a really good finish to your season and a lot of positives. It's not good enough to be a competitive team. You can make it good enough by adding a hitter or two, by adding some home runs at this point. You're at least good enough as a team that adding home runs is worth it. Because if you weren't getting any home runs, right, you could make the argument, why do we need to go out and get ourselves a guy who can hit 30 home runs on this team when he's going to be the only guy that hits home runs and we're going to lose 100 games? But now you can make the argument
why would that guy sign here for
But now this guy
gets
the
pennies that he's going to get.
Right. But now this guy gets a hit in a lineup where he's going to have protection because there's other guys that hit home runs too. He's not going to be the guy that pitchers are going to pitch around. He's going to be on a team that has an up and coming, exciting offense that hits home runs, and he gets to just be one of those contributors. And so you can kind of erase that fear in the player, and you're also adding somebody that's not just going to be a drop in the bucket when you really need a whole bucket full of water. Because now you've got enough around that player that you're bringing in that it makes an impact to add 30 more home runs. And so that's what this is. My biggest fear with this team, and it always is this way, with an owner that's cheap and the way that they approach rebuilds. I'll put quotes over my head when I say that. The way that they approach rebuilds. In the past, they've approached rebuilds as the idea of, well, we just don't spend any money until everybody's ready to go. And I'm saying right now, you've got enough ready to go that you should at least be able to field a professional baseball team. Because there's nothing really exciting coming up from the minors next year. Brady Montgomery is probably 2 years away. And that's just one guy. And maybe you squeeze another position player out of your minor leagues that you're developing right now, but that's probably about it. So you're going to have to make the additions at some point. So you shouldn't be afraid to make additions right now, this offseason. You shouldn't be. That's something we're going to be talking about a lot on Stocks in the Basement. And one of the things that I want to do this offseason, Ed, before we get out of here, I meant to say this at the beginning of the show, but I do not want to let the show go all the way without announcing it. Remember when we used to have that contest where we would pay for the best guest? I'm bringing that back this year.
Yes.
I'm bringing that back.
Yes.
I am. I'm bringing that back this year.
Yes, we did do that.
I didn't want to do it. Look, money was tight during the divorce. It's all over now. Okay, money's back.
Right.
Money's back now. Okay. So I think we're going to put up a G again, like we used to, for the best guest of the offseason on Stocks in the Basement. So that means if you know somebody or you have a connection or you lead to that guest, it's not sending me a message saying, I think you should have on the show. That's not good enough. You got to help me in some way get the guest. Do you have that guest's phone number? Do you have a connection to that guest? If I can link in some way that you assisted getting that guest on Stocks in the Basement, and then it is the best guest of the offseason, which in the past we have paid $1,000 in offseason to listeners. And I sent him I have to give him a 1099 form. Like my tax accountant is really serious about this. He's like, we can't just give away $1,000 and not have paperwork. But I do it when we give away $1,000. And so we will send off the prize. And that is if you have made a direct impact on getting that guy on the show. Or it could be something along the line. Remember, Liam Hendricks was on because he was trying to be the best guest so he could put $1,000 towards his charity. So, I mean, that's also an incentive. And it doesn't need,
that was in the running.
Right. And it doesn't need to be a White Sox player. And it doesn't need to be somebody from the White Sox organization. And it doesn't even need to be a baseball person. I mean, I don't care. You have Sydney Sweeney's digits. I'll take them.
Oh, would you? She's got great genes.
I'll throw myself on that grenade and make that phone call. I will.
Oh, okay. You'll do that?
I'll do that. She
got great blue jeans. That's what I've heard.
But what I'm saying is look, A ball player would be probably a little higher up on the list. I mean, a White Sox player would be an amazing thing. Somebody from the organization would be an incredible thing. You want to sit there and get the person to come on and say, look, I'll split the money with you and $500 goes to your charity.
$1,500 if you get Jerry.
If you get, we'll put a bounty on. We did that last time, right?
$1,500 if you get Jerry.
Jerry Reinsdorf on this show, and he doesn't hang up the phone in the first 5 minutes. $1,500. But he's got to make it 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He's got to make it 5 minutes.
Yeah. It's got to last 5 minutes with us.
If you get Jerry Reinsdorf, it's got to be confirmed Jerry Reinsdorf. Honestly, it should be Jerry Reinsdorf over at Cork and Carry at the park for $1,500.
Right. I was going to say, for Jerry, we'd travel.
Yeah. I'll travel for any of them. To be honest with you, if it's a good enough guest and they're able...
That's true. Yeah.
If it's a good enough guest and they're able to appear in public, I would record the show at Cork. I would do that. I'd go to Cork and Carry at the park or even Cork and Carry in Beverly, and I would record the show there with the guest. Because if you get somebody big, why not go all out? I mean, they can also come to the new basement studio. They can also do video like over Zoom or something else if they want to do that. They can do phone line. There's a million different ways for us to get them on the show. But I want to do that this offseason. We got away from that during the divorce, and I want to bring it back. So it was something I was thinking about the last week or so.
And let's face it, getting somebody to come on this show and talk about the White Sox after a historically bad season was probably just going to be whoever was angriest out there in the world at them. And I think there was just a general level of apathy.
Right.
So,
I mean, you got a famous White Sox fan. There's a million things we can do here. I'm open to any type of guest because it's the off season. And then what we've done in years past is that there's a vote at the end online where the other listeners vote on which one was their favorite guest. And the winner of that poll for the off season will win $1,000. And like I said, if you get Jerry on the show, we'll pay a bounty for him. That's the only bounty I'm paying now. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody, I'll pay a little bit more for Jerry Reinsdorf. Automatic. He's an automatic $1,500 to get Jerry Reinsdorf on the show. It's got to really be him.
He's worth a little bit more.
Yeah, it's got to be really him. I don't want anybody trying to do voices or anything else like that. There'll be a vetting process for that one.
No, and we know some things about him. He does not have a British accent. Okay. He won't call us dude.
Socks in the basement. Socks in the basement. Socks in the basement.
Socks in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on socksinthebasement.com.